Alright, so I'm going to show how to open up and disassemble this MacBook Air model A1466. This is a 2017 model. So first what you want to do is remove the Pentalobe screws on the bottom. This is a 1.2, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Once you do that, just go from the back and then lift it up. It will be clipped down. There's a clip here, so just pull on it and you'll hear it pop just like that. Okay. Alright, once you do that, you'll want to switch, or make sure your computer's off first, of course, and then switch over to a T5. So remove the screws for the battery. So there's 5 screws holding the battery in place. Make sure to keep them in order because they are different lengths. So there's one here, one in the middle, okay, one here in this corner. So these 3 are the same length, and then the 2 at the bottom are shorter, but usually I try and keep them all together just to be safe. All right, once you do that, you can lift from here. I like to use my fingernail just to grip underneath, and then you can lift it up just like that, and then grab the little clear tab here and just wiggle it. Alright, and it'll come out just like that. Be careful because the battery usually gets caught on the cable under here. So you want to rotate this battery so it goes up this way after you pull the cable a little bit. Alright, and then you can pull it out. So here you can see the cables here. If you pull on it while it's just like this, it'll yank this cable and then it can bend it. So just be careful with that. Okay. Dust this off. Alright, I'm going to clean this. Okay, alright, once you got the battery out, set it aside, and then I like to hold the power button just to be safe, just to make sure there's no power into the board. So just hold it, usually 30 seconds to be safe, but 10 to 20 seconds is usually good enough. Okay, so once you do that, then right now I'm actually just replacing the screen, so I'll show how that's done. So for this model, I'm not going to show how to replace everything because I need to get this back to the customer quick. But the screen, you just lift up this little latch and then you kind of just wiggle this back just like that. And then you got the wireless antennas here. Just pop these up, okay, just like that. From the tail, you just lift it up. Don't try and pry from the front end of this connector or you can damage it. Okay, once you get the 2 antennas out, just remove them from the slot and then you can pull the whole antenna back out. Alright, just like that. Alright, then there's one screw. Actually, we don't need to remove that. So this is if you need to remove if you're removing the logic board, there's a screw here underneath this cable that you have to undo. If you were removing the logic board, there's one screw here, one here, one here, one here. There might be one under the SSD. Let me open that and see. Okay, not on this model, so you don't have to remove but this is the SSD. Okay, you just pull it out like that at an angle. Same thing with the wireless card. There's most likely an adhesive underneath. You don't need to remove the wireless card to replace the logic board, but just do that. And then I like to use the edge of this to push it out while I'm wiggling it. And just like this is how you remove the wireless card. Okay, so that's how you remove the wireless card from there. But I'm going to put it back in. Okay. Okay, so just like that, that's how you remove the wireless card. Alright, so for the screen, it has the antenna, the LCD cable, and then there's also the video cable, so I'm going to have to take this out to show you. The speakers, they're held in place with a strong adhesive, so basically to remove the speakers, what I do is I lift this up, make sure to disconnect this first. To disconnect it, what you do, I use like a needle, and then I just go underneath this cable, alright, and then I pry it up. Okay, so I try and pull this up from the tail. Once you get the wire up, you can actually use your fingernail, go as close to the cable the end of the cable as possible, and then you can pull it up just like that. Okay. Be careful not to pull from too far back, or you can break the little connector here. Okay, but that's how you remove the speakers, and then you just pull up on it and stay close to where the adhesive is still stuck and just keep peeling. This is the trackpad and keyboard cable. So to remove that, you just flip this up and then you can take that out. The keyboards on these models, let me see if I can show it. I'm gonna have to use a needle. But the keyboard on these models, so this plastic stuff is actually the backlight, is for the backlight. So this keeps the light inside. Let me get a smaller needle. Okay. So underneath this black stuff, so if you ever need to replace the keyboard, there's this clear part is the backlight, and then underneath there's screws, and then I believe on this model, yeah, in the middle there's rivets. So this model to replace the keyboard is pretty tough. You can remove the frame of screws, and then you have to tear the whole keyboard out. All these rivets will go everywhere. Usually I'll put that, like the whole keyboard, into like a trash bag while I rip it out, so I can collect all those pieces that fly out. But yeah, that's the keyboard trackpad cable. This is the keyboard backlight cable. And then you got this connector for the charge port USB audio jack. So we're gonna have to unplug this and then set this cable aside. All right, so same thing with this speaker, but it connects up here. This board, it has the microphone cable connected underneath this adhesive strip. So this cable, the microphone cable, pops out just like these. Okay. And then let's see what else. So I'm not taking out this board. Well, actually I have to take it out just to make it easier to remove this. So I'll show you here. So now we'll remove this fan here. Okay, so there's 3 screws holding the fan in place. Remove those 3. Okay. Alright, once you got those 3 out, make sure to flip up this little latch that's holding the fan cable in place. Move the rubber piece aside, lift the fan out just like this, and then pinch the cable onto the fan, so underneath, so that way it doesn't yank out. So I hold the cable like this here, and then you can pull it out. Okay, you just wiggle it and it'll come out. Make sure you undid the latch. Okay, and then to undo this cable here, I'm going to take out the rest of this board. So there's 1 screw holding it here. Well, I'm not taking it out, but I'll lift it out. So 1 screw at the bottom there holding it. Okay, and then to get this out, you unplug this. So just get as close to the connector as possible holding the cables, and then just wiggle it as you pull. Okay, just like that, it'll come out. So I don't want to take all these cables out because it's more trouble. So you just lift this cable up. Okay, and then same thing, get as close to the connector as you can, and then just grab it and wiggle while you pull it. Okay, and it'll pop out just like that. Okay, then you can guide the wire out just like that. And that's about all you need to do to get the screen out. The hardest part now is guiding this antenna wire back. So let me see if I can show this. So now we'll open this up. Let me adjust the camera. Hopefully I don't turn off the recording. Okay, I guess I'll have to like bend it. Okay, so here you can see. We'll have to switch to I believe a T8 bit. Let me see here. Yep, so switch to a T8. So what I like to do is hang the screen off the edge of the desk while it's open, and then just remove these screws. Okay, just like this. Okay, so there's 3 screws holding each hinge in place. Hopefully you can see all of this. Okay. Okay, once you got those 6 screws out, you can actually lift the whole screen out. Okay, just like that. Okay, and that's pretty much how you remove the screen. To put it back, you just do the reverse. So I'll do that, and then I'll show the difficult part is just routing the wireless antenna back in place. So put the new screen back in. The antennas or the hinges, if they come with the hinges folded down, just use the screwdriver inside the screw hole, and then you can actually use that to twist the hinge. Okay, open and close. All right. So put this one in. All right. And then usually I'll put the screws and not like completely tighten them, and then close the screen and line it up so that way I can make sure that it's not misaligned. So put the screws in loosely. Okay. On this screen they put like a little security sticker here so they know that you actually installed it. Usually they don't do that, but okay. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I put all the screws in loosely. After that, just fold the screen back down. Okay. You will have to peel this stuff off because it sticks over the edges. Alright, and I'll use this foam that it came with to put it on top just to keep it from getting scratched. Alright, then you can line up the screen just like this. Make sure that it's aligned on all four corners. Alright, then you can tighten back down the screws. Don't forget that this antenna thing has this little metal bracket on it, so you will have to put that back. Readjust the camera. Okay. So make sure to put that metal bracket back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tighten the screws that are away from the bracket first. Alright. Just like this. Hopefully you can see everything. My hands are in the way, I know. But, yeah. Alright. Make sure the screw's going in properly. Okay. Make sure it's tight. Okay, now take these two screws back out once you got all the rest tightened. Okay, and then guide this one over. So remember for this one, this is the eyesight or webcam cable. It has to go over, and then it has to go underneath and tuck into this little hole here. And then you push the rest of the cable underneath and then plug this one in. Okay, so to plug this cable in, what I do is I line it up, and then I'll use the screwdriver and I'll push on the edges. They have like little wings that stick out, so I'll just slowly push on that, the left one, then the right one, then the left one, then the right one, and eventually it'll be flush with the thing. So that's how you reconnect that one, and then you can push the rest of the cable back in front of the speaker, and then you can plug this one back in. Okay, all right, and then now that you got all of that, you can push this thing back down. Make sure this cable goes flat with this board. Okay, then we can put the fan back in. But again, if you're replacing the board, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's one hidden screw behind the fan here, 7. Okay, so remember to remove all of those, and then the board actually comes up at an angle like this, and you can just wiggle it out. So that's how you would remove the whole board. It's not too much extra effort, but I don't want to do extra stuff on a customer's computer if I don't have to, especially since they're here waiting to pick it up. Okay, so now just put the connector back in. Make sure that you get the connector in and then push on it so it flexes back down. All right. The cables might be in the way. If they're in the way, you can either move them out. If you can't move them out, you can leave them unplugged until you put the screws back in. So you can lift them out of the way with the screwdriver, just like this. Okay. And then make sure that the cable is flush, the white line lines up, and then you can push the little latch back down. All right. And then again with the antenna cables, let's see, did I do that right? Oh, I think I did the wrong two. Okay, so for the antenna cables, you actually want the inside screw, the one that's closer to the hinge mechanism, the screen, to be in. Okay, and then take this one out. Hopefully I'm doing this, actually, okay, I think this thing is upside down. Let's see here. Usually I'll check with the other one. Yeah, okay. I did have it right. This one's just weird. They put it upside down. Okay, so put that screw back in. Sorry. So take this screw out, the one on the left. Hopefully you can see. All right. This piece, the part that bends, it's supposed to actually go downwards into the screen. So let's see, since the screen opens up and it twists it that way. Okay, so you want it to twist this forward so that way when it opens, it untwists the screen, okay? Or untwists the cable, sorry. All right, now that you got that, line that back up. Get the screw. Okay. And then put the screw into the hole. All right, do that with the other one. So I'll do that loosely, and then I'll switch to the T5 again, so I can put the fan screws back in. So the fan screws usually I'll put in loosely first, and then I'll pull the fan against the heatsink to make sure that it's pressed as close as possible to maximize the airflow. So I'll grab here and I'll pull the fan this way, okay, and then tighten it. Just like this. All right. And then you got the other screw that we removed from this board. What you can do, loosen this screw a little bit. Okay, this one. And then while you're pulling this over, if you have your charger, make sure it's not plugged in, but you can put your charger thing there just to make sure that it's connected, sticking out as far as it should be. And then you can plug and then put in the screw. Okay, so if you have the charger there, because sometimes if you don't put this charging thing here, so I have this little adapter, but if you'll use your regular charger, but sometimes you don't have this, and then the board will be kind of too far in, and then when you try and plug it in, it won't reach the cable. Okay, so that's all plugged in. Don't forget this cable. All right, you just snap it back down like a Lego, line it up, make sure it's lined up, and then push down. Okay, just like that. All right. All right, and then make sure all the screws are tight. Okay. And then after we do that, we got the fan, so we'll tighten down the wireless antenna completely. Okay, sorry, my hands are in the way as usual. I wish there was a way to record what I'm looking at. That'd probably be the best. But, there you go. All right, now you've got all the screws tightened. Okay, now plug in the LCD cable. So just make sure this is lined up. Make sure this cable routes around here. And then what you do, make sure to line it up. Don't force it in. You should feel it go. Once it clears the outer edges here, then you should be okay to pull on it. So make sure that lines up. And then make sure it clears those little spots. It's hard to do this while recording. But okay, once it clears those two spots, then you can pull the connector on, and then make sure pull it kind of tight, firm, and then you can put the little latch down and click it in place. All right. Now that you got that, I'm gonna flip this over. So the wireless antennas are kind of a pain because you have to route it underneath this rubber piece, and then you have to also go through all these little areas here. So what I found the best way is you kind of make sure to route it around the screw holes first. Okay, I like to use the screwdriver to help push it in on the sides. Okay, just like that. Hopefully you can actually see what I'm doing, but use the screwdriver to help you push it around the back. Okay, so now you can see it went in. All right, so once you got it around this one screw hole, when you pull it, it will automatically like try and force it to straighten out underneath to where this is. So while you're doing that, you can actually lift the rubber piece up and push this down. So while you're doing that, then you can pull it and you can see it's going underneath the rubber piece. So while you're doing that, I would use a bigger bit like the T8, and then, or you can use a larger one, and then use another small tool to kind of help you hold this out. So while you're holding it, you can actually push it down into the slot. Okay, so just like this. Okay, there we go. Make sure the rubber piece stays in place. All right. This rubber piece is actually coming out a little bit. So make sure to push it back in. All right. So same thing with this one. To get it underneath the rubber piece, you just pull this cable, and then you can pull up the rubber a little bit. And while you're doing that, you can also push it with the screwdriver. So if you can't do it that way, you can use the two screwdrivers and kind of just force it down in, just like this. Okay, and the rubber will go out of the way. All right, now you just make sure to get these back in the slots. Okay. Oh, this one's actually going further under than it should, so we'll do it this way. Okay, so just guide it along, route it underneath behind the screw. Again, okay, there we go. All right, keep routing it along and pushing it into the slots, just like that. All right, and then past the last screw hole. There we go. And then now you just gotta guide it through these little slots here. So hopefully you were able to see that in the video. I'm not sure, but yeah. Okay, now just guide the cable through that slot, and then put in the antenna. Just line it up, make sure the circles are aligned with each other, and don't push down until it's completely aligned, because if you do, you can damage the antenna. So okay, get it lined up and then push it down just like that. Okay, there you go. So we got that one in, and same thing with the other antenna. Get it through the little slot. All right, and then plug it in. Just line it up and then push it down, straight down. Okay, antennas are a little bit tricky too. Come on. If you have like a U screen, it helps because the cable will stay bent a little bit so that it stays aligned with the hole. This one, it's kind of springing back. Okay, so line it up, push it down. There we go. All right, so now we got that all connected. Make sure you got all the cables connected. We unplugged this cable, the fan cable, the eyesight camera cable, and then the wireless antennas and the LCD cable. So make sure that's pulled tight. Then grab the battery, put the battery back in. All right, reconnect it just like that. All right, put that back down. If you want, you can test it first. Switch back to the T5 screwdriver, and then screw down the center one. Okay, so you don't need to do the other four yet, but just for testing the screen, you can do that. Open it up, push the power button, and then usually I like to do a PRAM reset and a SMC reset, so let's do that. So SMC Reset is Control, Option, Shift, and the power button. Well, I turned it on already, so let me do this first. So PRAM is Control or Command, Option, PNR. Okay, while it's booting, and that'll make the while you hear the boot sound, it'll restart on that boot sound. So here you see it restarts, and the boot sound goes to full volume. All right. Let's see, it should come up now. So there you see the Apple logo. So it's good to go. All right. So shut it down. And then for the PRAM reset, or for the SMC reset, what you want to do, make sure it's completely off. If you have the computer plugged in, let me show you that. So if you have the computer plugged in, you'll see the orange light on the charger. Oops, sorry, it's on the other side. So if the battery is below, I think 90%, it'll show the charge light. Oh, and I don't want it to boot again. So while you got that, hold on the left side, Control, Option, Shift, and then press the power button, and you'll see it goes to green, and then it'll go back to orange. So that's how you know you did the SMC reset properly. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now I just put back all the screws and put back the cover. We can peel this off. All right. All right, so close that up. Put back the last few screws. All right, just like this. So as you can see, the computer's still on. So if you're doing this while it's still on, just be careful you don't drop any screws on the board. Okay. Well, even if it's off, it can damage it as long as the battery's connected. So just be very careful. All right. So got all the screws back in. Close the cover back up. All right, and we'll put the remaining Pentalobe screws back in. Okay, switch back to the Pentalobe 1.2, and we'll screw these back in. Okay, make sure the middle thing clicks back down onto the battery. All right. Get the last few screws in. Oops. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please like and subscribe because that'll help me. And thank you for watching. All right, I'll put the last screw and yep, bye.